Well, hey, everybody. This is Janice Wright from the Garrison Public Affairs Office. This week, we are talking with the American Red Cross. We're talking about all the amazing ways they help support not only the military community, but residents and people nationwide. So we're talking all that and more on this week's episode of the Great Big Podcast. Welcome back, everybody. Happy New Year. And today we have our representatives from the Red Cross organization, and they're going to talk to us a little bit about the impact of the Red Cross and how important it is to the military community and beyond. With that, let's get into it. Won't you guys introduce yourselves?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Jennifer Young. I'm the executive director here with the Heart of Texas chapter of the American Red Cross.
Nice.
My name is Daniel Garrison, and I am the resident Red Cross Service of the Armed Forces volunteer. I volunteer in the emergency room with disaster services and as well as a multitude of other community services.
Excellent. Well, I want to start off with getting the basics of the Red Cross and the role it plays. So can you give us a brief description of its job and what it does?
Well, the American Red Cross does so much, so I'll try to keep it brief. But, obviously here we have our service to the armed forces where we serve military families, service members, and veterans through that line of business. And then
Absolutely.
We've also got disaster cycle services where we respond to emergencies and disasters throughout the country,
Right.
365 days a year. We've got our training services where we train people in life-saving training to help, save lives.
Yes, I took a CPR course some years back through the Red Cross.
Yes, and
Yes.
we provide lifeguarding and babysitting courses. And then we also, a big part of what we do is we collect blood to help provide life-saving blood products to people all throughout the country.
Okay. What would you consider some of the main ways the Red Cross supports military families and the military community?
Yeah, so there's several ways that we support the military community. So in times of emergency, we help military families communicate with their loved ones and help facilitate their return home through our Hero Care network. We also provide a variety of resiliency workshops to military families and military service members. And then we support caregivers of our nation's injured military and veterans of all eras. And then we also have our Get to Know Us Before You Need Us program so that you can get to know about the Red Cross before you actually need our services.
Nice. That's pretty good. It's pretty good to know about it so you know exactly how to access the resources and the services that you need.
Yes, ma'am.
It's really good. So just in your opinion, how would you say the partnership between the Red Cross and military organizations enhances the support provided to service members pretty much both at home and deployed?
Well, I would say it's critical. The partnerships that we have with other service organizations to help support our military community, which we all know is very unique and complex, just with the things that our service members face on a day-to-day basis, as well as their families. And so having those strong partnerships and being able to support this very special community is at the heart of what we do.
So I remember being deployed. I'm a veteran. Several years back, I was in Bosnia. And I had a Red Cross message about a relative passing away. Is that one of the services that you guys provide as far as for soldiers who are deployed abroad?
Yes, ma'am. That would be through our Hero Care network. And that's interesting. So I actually am a veteran myself. My time in the service was unique, but while I was actually at basic training, I also got a Red Cross message when my grandfather passed away.
Right.
So it's just so interesting to meet people and to hear about how they've been touched by the Red Cross.
Right. It was really helpful. I mean, it was a tough time, but it was helpful to, get that message. And, for me to know someone cared about what I was going through and that they were going to help facilitate me making my way home so I could be with my family at that time, it meant a lot.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we do. So we work alongside that soldier's command and help figure out, are we going to be able to get that individual home, and help make those arrangements and cover that cost.
Right. So, Danny, I know you mentioned earlier that you are a Red Cross volunteer and it's something that you're passionate about. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So there's a bit of a longer story because I've been volunteering for several years now.
Okay.
But a long time ago in a duty station far, far away, in what was known as Fort Bragg, now known as Fort Liberty, I started with the Red Cross at the Womack Army Medical Center. And I started out as a comfort cart volunteer. And essentially what that role was I were to go to patients with hygiene items, comfort items, clothes, underwear, whatever they might need. It was during COVID, so my access was limited. But essentially, the reason why I started doing it is because I've sparked a passion for medicine. This was long before I became a medic. And what that allowed me to do was that allowed me to be the boots on ground ever since. Shortly after that, I started to work in the service of the armed forces. And after COVID had settled down, the conflict in Ukraine and Poland started. When it was fresh out, no service member had any phones. No service member had any contact.
Right.
Everybody was first deploying as if we were going back to Iraq. And speaking from when I was in Iraq in 2018.
Okay.
The problem was everyone was short-staffed. And by that, I mean it was just me and my manager for the entire post.
Wow.
And because of that, her husband had actually deployed, and she had her 2 kids still.
Okay.
But at the same time, I was going to go to medical school, and in that time frame, what we call PCSing in the military,
right?
You might remember.
I do.
I had nothing to do, so all I did at least every other day is I would go to the office with my manager, and we would go to unit briefings, and we would brief anywhere between 40 to 400 people, and I serviced several dozen of the unit battalions and brigades, divisions, whoever just needed it, because that's all we were. So I very luckily lived down the street from the Family Readiness Group Center, and that's where they held a majority of their briefings. So all I had to do was just go down the street, knock on the door, and say, "Hey, I'm here to brief."
Okay.
And I did that for several months straight, to the point where I got really good at it, and to the point where when my manager had to do other things, I was the only one briefing thousands of people a week. It was very stressful, and there were very many times where I was unsure of myself and what I was doing, because I was not very good at public speaking. But after a while, it was a habit to sit at the desk and wait until every single person had left the building, because there was always, any brief that I went to, there was always at least one person. And I always made sure that even if there was one person that had a question, I would still stay until maybe 2100 at night.
Absolutely.
And then when I went to medical school, became a medic, graduated, came back here, and as a medic, here at Fort Cavazos, I was afforded the opportunity to work in the emergency room as a medic. And so as I was in processing there, I started to take on more duties, such as I was in biomedical services. I started to go into disaster services and biomed services, as she was saying before. I would essentially, even though I was a medic, I couldn't touch people with the needles, but I was still able to navigate and help people recover if they had any problems from donating blood, simply because I already had the medical knowledge. So I was, useful there. I was in the it starts with an M, manifest team. So so as soldiers were still deploying, I would go to the airfield with another volunteer of mine, and we would stay until maybe 12 to 2 a.m. to see soldiers off, give them snacks, books, hot chocolate.
Okay, so really hands-on.
Right. Yeah. Essentially, like, I just briefed you on what to do, and this is your very last steps out the door. Halfway across the planet. Here's something to keep you warm on your way on the plane. With disaster services, I was also deploying myself, so I couldn't get too involved. But essentially, what I did is I worked with veterans and their families. I did several dozen community events where we did like Red Cross recruiting.
Okay.
We would go to different cities like San Antonio,
Right.
Houston, Dallas, and we would do sound the alarm. If you were familiar with it, we would go house to house, and we would.
Is that a campaign to recruit? Is it to recruit volunteers for the organization, or
it's more of a side quest to recruit. But
Okay.
the primary goal is to give the community new sound smoke alarms.
oh, okay,
So Sound the Alarm is a program that we go door to door and we say, hey, we are here to give you a smoke alarm because disaster services responds to house fires primarily. And our goal, as in the same way as in preventive medicine, we go there to say like, hey, a lot of people, most people don't even have smoke alarms in their homes.
you're right. It's something that's like often overlooked.
Right.
Like, the
Until
only
you
time
need
when
it.
I really pay attention is when mine starts to beep. So
Right. And that's when a lot of people just take them down.
Right.
And people don't realize that by having a working smoke alarm, you're actually 50% more likely to survive that fire. It cuts the risk of fatality in half. So,
Wow.
yeah, the Sound the Alarm campaign is something really cool that we do.
It sounds like it. It puts in perspective how important smoke alarms are as well.
It is, and it definitely gives us exposure to the community. It's because a lot of the times when I brief to the units, it's hard for them to see the Red Cross in person. Because what happens a lot is when people think of the Red Cross in the military, is they think emergency messages. And even though that is a huge part of what I brief as a service to the armed forces volunteer, I always try to remind soldiers and their families that that is only a fraction in reality of what we do. Because I always advocate for our resiliency services. I advocate for our counseling services. We have a lot of life-saving services. My last brief, I even pulled out the Hero Care app, and I showed everybody that we have several dozen resources just at your fingertips. And there's, and just because we have a location on post with limited manning, because everybody's short-staffed nowadays, there is always a Red Cross supervisor on standby.
Right.
For that exact reason, where if you were to call them, we will be there with the firemen, with the emergency services, ready to give you the money, resources, whatever you might need right after a disaster.
Okay.
But what I primarily do overall is I funnel a lot of my time into the emergency room simply because of the fact that it is my job. But what it allows me to do is to gather experience, but also most importantly, it allows me to have the time to sit down with patients, talk to them, and even if I might be drawing blood, administering drugs, sewing up somebody who got cut up really bad. But most of the time, in the emergency room, somebody's having their darkest hour.
Right.
And what helps the most, what a lot of people forget about, especially people in the medical community, is that sometimes somebody just needs somebody to listen.
Absolutely.
Right? Where somebody, they could have just lost a baby. Somebody could have been drinking too much and they fell and broke something they weren't supposed to. I've even had several times where people didn't think they'd have to be in the emergency room, but they did. And what a lot of times is that when we sit down and we talk with the people that are in the darkest hour, just the light of letting them talk, like me sitting down and letting them just talk and to listen.
Basically being a listening ear, yeah.
But it definitely allows people to have a calmer head and allows me to have a boost the ground impact in the community around me. Right. And so every medic that I come across or every person I come across, I try to spread the word of the Red Cross as much as we can, simply because that we have a lot of resources and we fight hard to get those resources out, because if we don't use them, we lose them.
Hi there. I'm Rachel Bethel. I'm the Public Services Librarian at Casey Memorial Library, and I just hope you guys step by. Casey Memorial Library is located at the corner of 72nd Street and 761st Tank Battalion Avenue, next to the CTC building. We're open Tuesday through Saturday from 9 to 5 and have a large collection of items to check out, including books, audiobooks, movies, graphic novels, and video games. And an even larger selection of materials is available online. We also offer a variety of free programs and services for all ages, CAC-enabled computers for soldiers, and separate kids' rooms for families. All DoD civilians, retirees, active duty soldiers, and their dependents can get an account. If you have any questions, feel free to call us. We're available at 254-287-4921.
So Jennifer, what do you think are some of the most important needs that the Red Cross meets for military families, and how do you guys tailor your services to the needs of the military community?
So I think that you said, what are some of the most important needs?
Yes.
Of the
or
military?
Services that you provide for, military families,
right?
Service members.
Well, I think just like Danny was talking about, being there in their time of need, no matter what it is, whether it is that emergency call that comes through the Hero Care Network, or whether it is helping a family navigate a deployment, or, kind of reintegrating after they're coming back from a deployment. So I think those are critical things, that we do when we help fill those gaps in the military community. So I think, we've got amazing volunteers who are humanitarians at heart, and they really care about this community, and they're passionate. 90% of our workforce is our volunteers, just like Danny, and he brings so much to what we do here, especially at Fort Cavazos, but we've got others just like Danny. And so I think, really taking that human approach and just wrapping our arms around these military service members and their families really shows them that we care and that we're going to be there. Absolutely. No matter what it is.
So it sounds like volunteers are essential to the success of the organization. Yeah. So for our listeners who are considering volunteering for the organization, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, so there's several different ways. So we've actually got a volunteer recruiter right here at Fort Cavazos.
Nice.
He's incredible, and he can help kind of figure out the perfect niche. But you can also go to redcross.org/volunteer and get started through that process to become a volunteer. But, we've talked about all the different things that the Red Cross does, and there's so many different ways you can get involved. So,
absolutely.
Whether it is with service to the armed forces, or like Danny was talking about with our biomedical services, working at a blood drive, welcoming people, being there when they get finished doing their donation, and being able to, thank them for making that donation and saving somebody's life, or if it's helping go out to a house fire, and being able to wrap a blanket around somebody and give them a bottle of water and tell them it's going to be okay. These are all important things that our volunteers do. And,
so no gesture is too small.
No gesture is too small. And the incredible thing about our volunteers, like I said, they have just such big hearts. They're so unassuming, and they just do it because they love it.
So you guys heard it here. There are many, many different ways that you guys can volunteer for the Red Cross if you so choose. So they are always in need, right? Always in need of people willing to give of themselves and help out and lend a helping hand.
Yes.
So Danny talked about many of his memorable stories with the Red Cross. Can you tell us one of yours?
Yeah, so I actually had the opportunity. So like we've been talking about, disasters happen every day, home fires. And then of course we've got larger scale disasters, where we see on the news, such as what happened in Hawaii with the wildfires. Absolutely. Which is an ongoing disaster response. And then we all saw the tornadoes that wreaked havoc through Nashville just around Thanksgiving. And so last year, I actually got the opportunity to go on a disaster response. We call them DRs in Arkansas when the tornadoes hit up there, and it was very moving. I had never seen that kind of devastation, other than on TV.
Absolutely.
And so to be in person and to really see what that looks like in a community was very moving. Obviously, I'm still moved by it. And to actually see the people and get to interact with people that have been affected by that, and to know that I was there to provide that comfort and, get to just tell them like it's going to be okay. We're going to help walk you through this. So part of my job while I was there was being a housing liaison. So part of what the Red Cross does is we don't just come in and say, okay, here you go, and now we're going to leave again. We really are focused on long-term recovery, and what does that look like? And we know that when a disaster hits, it's going to take some time, right? People don't just bounce back within a week or two. So helping them navigate, what the new normal looks like. And that can be really complicated sometimes, but our focus is on health, hunger, and housing. And so I was there to help people get back into permanent housing situation. And so got to work alongside other nonprofit partners, alongside government entities, finding what units were available and helping people walk through that process, working really closely with our shelter resident transition team, who again work very closely with the clients as they start to transition out of that emergency shelter, right after the disaster happens into a more permanent housing solution.
Wow. So you guys are always boots on the ground when you guys are needed most. I love that.
Yes.
I love that. So looking towards the future of the Red Cross, what does that look like in supporting the military community, and how would we get the community involved in whatever the vision for the future is?
Yeah,
for that?
well, the future is strong. I would say the future is bright. Our service to the armed forces is basically how the Red Cross started, right? Clara Barton was out there on the battlefields of the Civil War, and we're still here today serving our military service members, and we're going to continue to be there for our military community. We're going to continue to recruit volunteers to help serve our community here, both at Fort Cavazos and across the region, integrating ourselves into the community. We try to attend as many things as we can to really, get to know the people here, let them know that we're here, let them know more about what we do, not just that we provide a Red Cross emergency message, but that there's so much more that we can offer to help support their families.
Okay. Well, before we wrap up, I really want our listeners to know about our Red Cross presence here on the installation. So where are you guys located?
So we're actually on the first floor of the Shoemaker Center, and we're in room 1069. If you walk straight in, and then there's a little hallway to the right. If you kind of follow that down and around, we're there at the end of the hallway.
That's by the side door. And if you go by the front door, there is a Red Cross volunteer at the round table who directs people to everywhere in the Shoemaker Center.
Okay.
So they will tell you where to go, but the easiest way to go is to go to the side door, and like she said, just go straight in, take a huge right. There's a huge banner over the hallways. It's hard to miss. You go straight down, and it's really hard to miss all the Red Cross paraphernalia.
It is. I can imagine. So do you guys, how are you best contacted if someone wants to call and inquire about volunteering or anything or services?
So the best point of contact to get in touch with us would be at our phone number at 254-287-0400.
And just in case, I'll have you go ahead and repeat that for any listener who didn't hear it for the first time.
Yes. So our number at the office is 254-287-0400.
Excellent.
And of course, if people are a little bit more internet savvy, they can always find us online at redcross.org and be able to go look into volunteering, what services, what office locations are near them. Everything is available on our website.
Before we go, is there anything that you guys would like to say to our listeners, especially those who do desire to get involved and who are contemplating and thinking about volunteering?
I would say when I very first started, the hardest step is walking me through the door. I learned that it is okay to be a little bit afraid. It's okay to be shaking your boots a little bit. The biggest part that I would advise is to simply download the app, the Hero Care app, see what services there are, if you need them, use them.
And can you give us the name of that app one more time?
Hero Care app.
Hero Care app.
Yes.
Okay.
All the resources that the Red Cross has on there. As for volunteering, even though a lot of the Red Cross volunteers you meet have a lot of responsibilities, such as myself, As we said before, there is no position too small. And it could be as small as simply walking in the office and restocking some cookies for other volunteers. It could be as simple as handing out pamphlets at events.
Okay. So all effort is appreciated.
Yes, there is always a pair of shoes to fill, no matter how big or how small you intend them to be. And there's also plenty of other ways to contribute from home, from work. I work with veterans all the time who are retired sergeant majors to brand new active duty privates. So there's flexible schedules for all.
I love
there's
that.
There's always somewhere to come in, and like our supervisor here said today, the Red Cross is dependent on the volunteers. So as soon as you put that badge on, you are our face and our feet.
I love that. What about you, Jennifer?
Well, I would just say, too, that, our volunteers, like I mentioned earlier, are the lifeblood of what we do, right? They are a huge component and part of our workforce. But even more so than just that, we want our volunteers to feel a sense of community. We know that loneliness is a very real thing. And we know that especially in the military community, maybe there's, when a family is going through a deployment or, somebody is looking for a way to get plugged in. Maybe they're brand new here and they don't know anybody.
Absolutely.
We want them to be able to come to our office and feel like they have a family in the Red Cross. And that's what we are. I mean, I say it all the time, my chapter, the volunteers I work with, they are my family. They're my team and family. And so we want people to be able to feel that when they join us. So come join the Red Cross mission, join our movement. We want you to join our community just like you're a part of the military community and feel good about yourself.
Well, we want to thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
When new soldiers are assigned to your unit, get to know them. Show them around.
The exchange, health clinic, fitness center, whatever.
Encourage your soldiers to grab meals together and talk about their lives. Shared hardships and life experiences build cohesive teams with fewer instances of suicide, sexual assault, and drug abuse. And units that are ready for the fight.
So I've seen several instances where the American Red Cross was involved in all kind of disasters across the world, but I was really, really appreciative of how they impact the military community as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, everybody, it's Samantha Harms with the Garrison Public Affairs Office. And yeah, I love the Red Cross. They do incredible things.
They do.
So I'm really glad that we were able to have them on.
Yeah, and I was actually able to reflect on the first time I had to use their services. I was overseas and I had a death in the family. And I was just really, really, it was my first time. So I was really shocked that they were able to kind of get to me, quickly and relay all the information and help me, secure transport back home. So yeah, I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Hey, everyone, this is Eric Franklin with your Garrison Public Affairs Office. And, being here, deploying out of Fort Cavazos, then Fort Hood a couple of times, and then deploying from Fort Liberty, then Fort Bragg a few times as well. The Red Cross was always there to send us off and to give us little care packages and give us a hug and just like, hey, we can't wait to see you when you come back. And they gave us that last little bit of home before we were gone for 9 months, 12 months, or 15 months. So I think the Red Cross is very important. They go hand in hand with the military and just supporting us.
Absolutely. And they're always looking for volunteers.
Yeah,
they basically said volunteers are at the core of their mission and they make it happen. So, if anybody out there listening wants to volunteer, we do have a Red Cross office here at Credamcy, and you guys, check it out.
Yeah.
Or you could check it out at redcross.org.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure all those details which you got into during the interviews.
Absolutely,
so,
I did.
Absolutely. So that's great. Speaking of home, though, we got a lot of stuff going on here on the installation.
Mm-hmm.
It is, as we said last week, 2024, which means that we are back into the swing of things.
Well,
Back in
into our
business.
resolutions and
Yeah.
all that good stuff.
Absolutely. Okay, so tell me, guys, what do we got going on here at the Great Place?
Well, actually, today we actually have the 2024 launch of the Community Connections event, which is today at 5 p.m. It's at the Fort Cavazos Main Post Chapel.
Okay.
And what's going to be happening is a lot of socializing, people getting together, sharing their ideas, sharing their faith, networking, free dinner is involved. It's going to be a great event. For more information about that, you can call 254-288-6545.
And free childcare is available too,
Free
right?
childcare, yes, I missed that, but yes, so you don't have to worry about anybody babysitting your little ones. You can bring them with you.
Yeah, perfect.
And speaking of childcare, there is a take advantage of hourly care. You can take advantage of hourly care. Meadows Child Development Center now offers hourly care from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. weekdays. The cost for care is $8 for up to 15 hours a week. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Reservations are required, and children must be registered with Child Youth Services. For registration information or to schedule a registration appointment, parents should contact Parent Central Services at 254-287-8029 or go by and visit them at 3600 Shoemaker Lane. That's the Shoemaker Center. Parents are required to complete an online hourly care orientation before making their first reservation. A 2-hour no-show fee will be assessed for parents who fail to show up or fail to cancel the reservation at least 24 hours in advance. So that means free childcare. Well, not free.
Not free. You got to pay for it.
8 hours.
Low
$8.
cost.
$8.
Low cost.
Yes.
$8
Low
an
cost.
hour
Yes.
for up to 15 hours a week.
Yes.
But if you don't show up,
Yes.
you got to pay for 2 hours.
Correct.
I think that's fair. I
Yeah.
mean, they're really, really cutting us a break on the price. So the least we
Absolutely.
can
Yeah.
do is show up.
Yeah,
On time.
It's a great
mean-
service for people who want to take advantage of some workout classes that we got going
Absolutely.
on the installation.
Absolutely.
You want to tell me about those?
New year, new fitness goals. I can attest to it. So right now, the Fort Cavazos Directorate of Family and Morale, Welfare, and Recreation is offering several new fitness classes. All available classes are core rehab, spin, yoga, power hour, glute camp, applied functional fitness, move and groove, and HIIT. Move and groove sounds like something right up my
I
alley.
know.
And HIIT is the high intensity training classes. So, lots of new things, a little something for everyone. So, for more information on cost, hours, and location, just visit cavazos.armymwr.com.
Nice. Yeah, so you can definitely take advantage of that hourly childcare while you go and try out a new
Yes.
fitness class.
I'm thinking about trying that move and groove. I like to move and groove.
Yeah. Blair Dupree, our Fort Cavazos Sentinel news editor, has been to that class.
Yes.
She's covered it for the paper.
I
She
saw the
said it's
pictures. They look
awesome.
really
Yes.
awesome. They look really exciting.
Yes, everyone there's having a great time.
I think that's kind of important. You know, if you're going to get out there and move, you should at least be trying to do something you enjoy. That way, you know, you make sure you keep doing it. If you get bored, you're likely to stop and give up.
Very true. Yeah. All right. What else we got?
The other big thing that we have going on is registration for CYS Sports is ending soon. Registration for youth flag football and youth soccer with Child and Youth Services ends January 19th. That's next week.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's only a couple of days away.
Yeah.
right.
So
Next
you got to get on it.
And Monday's a holiday.
And yeah, exactly. And Monday's a holiday. Flag football season is from February 5th to March 21st, and soccer season goes from February 5th to March 23rd. So you have a little bit of time. Hopefully it doesn't get too cold outside to go out there
Hopefully
and play.
not. Yeah.
But knowing our luck, it's going to be cold.
Oh, my.
For more information about the cost, the ages served, or anything else, contact Youth Sports and Fitness Office at area code 254-288-2214 or 254-288-3770, period.
Nice. Mic
Knock
drop
it
on
out the
that one.
park.
Yeah,
Knock
that
it
was
out the
good.
park.
That was really good. Yes, very exciting stuff going on. A lot of things with the directorate of MWR.
They're crushing it. They
are.
have a lot going on.
Yeah.
We have a stellar reputation to keep up. Have to keep making the great place even greater.
That's right. All right. Well, is there anything else that you guys want to talk about?
This weekend, if
gonna
you're
say,
listening to this
yeah,
in real
that's
time,
true.
it may be a little bit cold this weekend.
Yeah, good point.
Yes, it's going to be chilly and windy.
Yeah.
So I already have my chili already set up. So
Yes. So
You're
I
ready to go.
actually did head out to Home Depot to get a couple of things to prepare. If you have the pipes that are exposed, they have the really, really inexpensive, that plastic kind of tubing you can wrap around. It
Yeah.
even has its own adhesive, so they make it really, really easy.
Nice.
So, today the weather is pretty decent. So today would be a great day to get out there and get prepared.
Yes, they say the 4 P's: plants, people, pets, and pipes.
yes.
Those are
Peas, yes.
the 4 P's.
4
For
Ps.
things to think about when it comes to the cold.
Yes.
And if you have a dog or any other type of animal,
I do.
please
Pets.
bring them inside.
Yeah,
Pets.
Of course.
Pets.
My
Keep your-
dog, he's not going to
your
have
pet
it.
iguana.
Keep your pets and your people inside.
He is not
And your
going
plants.
outside.
Keep everything inside.
So, speaking of pets, did you know that gerbils, they hibernate?
I did know that. Actually, I
did
learned
not.
that fact.
I did
Yes.
not.
I learned that fact because a lot of people started realizing this on the internet and then
Yes.
said there are a lot of people who buried their gerbils.
Yes.
And they may have been alive.
Yes, they do a very deep sleep,
Yeah.
and
That's
it's like
weird.
that's just how when it's cold outside or they get cold,
just
the body
hibernate,
just says,
yeah.
"I'm going to sleep."
Wow.
And a lot of people think that their pet had passed. So
Yeah.
So in the little cage, just laid out, they'll just be in a deep sleep hibernating.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I could see how I probably would mistake it for being passed on.
For being unalive.
I think that probably when I think I read that or saw that like maybe 2 months ago, and I was like, man, a lot of people had a lot of ruined childhoods. Now they're like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Learn something every day. I was
Yikes.
this many years old when I learned this.
Today's years old.
I think Sam, you said you were doing something kind of cool. It's cool to me.
I'm doing something cool this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm taking advantage of my long weekend by staying here.
Hey,
And I'm going to a monster truck show on Saturday.
Saturday,
that
Saturday,
sounds awesome.
Saturday.
I haven't gone to one since my sons were young, but when I did go, it was very exciting. I actually, and my mom was like, what would happen if that truck came up into the audience, because they were just bouncing so high and it was just so kind of wild. So yeah.
Yeah, I've
Controlled
never been.
chaos.
I'm very excited.
It's
It'll be
for
really
me
fun.
at the time it was scary because I had my 2 sons and I was in mother mode.
That's fair. I'm not there yet, so
Right.
just me and my friends hanging out.
Sounds good. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
It will be. I'm very excited.
Janice, do you have any plans for this weekend?
No, if it's gonna be cold, I'm gonna stay in and read.
Can't make any of those promises.
I have compiled a large list of books that I would like to get into, and that's
fair.
what I'm going to do this year is read. I think I got that inspiration from you guys and your resolutions. So, and I love to read. I know our jobs here are very busy, and sometimes I get into that rut where I'm like, okay, shouldn't you be writing something instead of reading at your leisure? So I'm trying to balance and make time for both my passions.
That's fair. That's fair.
Speaking of books, I pulled out my Dante's Inferno, and it's on my table. That means that I have to read it eventually.
Oh.
So it's on there. I haven't started. I haven't opened it back up yet.
Okay.
But it's one of those books that I like reading every couple of years. It's a old leather-bound book, so it's like super old. I think I found it at a garage sale. By the way, you can find a lot of good books and
can.
interesting books at garage sales.
Absolutely,
Yes,
you
you can.
can.
Especially if you like now you can go get one from the library. You can go rent one, check one out from the
To
MWR.
borrow. It's called borrow.
What did I say? Rent?
Yeah, you said rent.
It's the same thing because if you don't,
If you don't bring it back, I guess you
you're
are
gonna be
technically
paying.
renting it.
Yeah, you're renting it then.
But not if you do it here with the Casey Memorial Library.
Memorial,
It is
yes.
free.
Yes.
Even if you are late. If you are really, really late, like a couple of months, then they will charge you.
Oh, well, that's not too
But
bad.
if you're just like a few days late,
That's
or
really late.
even a week, like,
Yeah.
you'll be fine. It's free.
See, them. Yeah,
No fees.
I might have to go check out and see what other
Yes.
old books
Use the
Casey
Casey
Memorial
Memorial.
Library has.
It's awesome there.
But yeah, I've been in there, but like I haven't read anything from there in a long
Borrowed.
time.
You keep saying rent.
In my mind,
You're borrowing.
I'm borrowing.
Yes.
It's the same thing.
It's not. Borrow is like I'm temporarily taking this, whereas rent
And
is
I'm going to bring it back.
Yeah, whereas rent is I'm charging.
Yeah,
like,
renting may involve
you're
a
being paid.
fee.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
paying for it. Where you're not paying for this. You're borrowing.
I like that analogy. Then that works.
That's why they use
That
the word
pans
borrow.
out.
Yeah.
That pans out.
It makes sense.
I
Words.
find that now I veer more towards the audio books. The main reason is because the print is just so small. And of course, in my years now, I never noticed it before. But now it's just like, yeah, I'm not even going to struggle. I'll just get it and have someone read it to me.
There
And
you
I love
go.
that.
Well, you know what? The Casey Memorial Library also offers audiobooks.
Yes. That's how I got into it.
Their
When I
biggest
went,
hype
I did a
woman.
story over there, and she actually took me through and told me about all of the selections.
Yeah,
and-
they got a lot of things.
And since we're mentioning them, they also have video games.
Yes, they do.
So-
And board games. That
and
you
board
can
games.
check
They
out,
have a
too.
little bit of everything.
They do.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
They're awesome.
shout out to Casey Memorial Library.
Yes.
Just
love
saying.
you.
It kind of veered over there, but hey, we're there.
It'd be the perfect time to get over there and get some things to,
Yes, it would.
kind of
Yeah.
stay in this weekend, buttoned up and stay
That's
warm.
nice. I like that.
Hot cocoa, all that good
Yeah.
stuff.
What about you, Eric? What are you doing?
Just hanging out with Scout, my dog, Australian Shepherd, coolest guy ever. That's about it. Just hanging out with him. We may go out. If it's not too cold, we may go out. And that's about it.
Nice. All right. Well, I love that. I'm excited for everybody's weekend. So I think that's all we've got for this week. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
This podcast is a U.S. Army Garrison Fort Cavazos and Fort Cavazos Public Affairs production. Have a question or want to share some of your wisdom with us? Drop us an email at fortcavazos@gmail.com. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Fort Cavazos Army. And as always, be sure to leave us a review and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.